It was a home run derby, and batters were up at the 2010 MTA annual conference this year. Cliff Albertson gave us a little preview tour of what that was all about.
Second part of our outreach tomorrow is Home Run Derby. We're going to have playoffs and championships. We have $1,050 worth of gift certificates, and we have some tickets that Shelley and Pat will be giving out, rewarding our telephone company customers that are talking to vendors.
Metaphors and reflections. We caught up with Brent Christensen.
Well, and back to the baseball metaphor, my analogy about Bud Selig, that seems to be the theme of this year's conference.
It is. We're really excited. We're trying something new. You know, the MTA is a reflection of the industry and our members, and we're getting away from the traditional closing banquets and closing ceremonies that many associations have gotten away from over the years. And now we're focusing on getting the members in here and getting to see the vendors and getting some dialogue and networking. That's probably the greatest contribution that the convention can make to customers and to our members. So we're trying a new theme this year, and we're calling it the Home Run Derby.
The weather was beautiful in Minneapolis for this convention, and when we weren't outside enjoying the weather, we were in listening to the keynote speaker on similarities in differences.
Collectively, we are fast becoming broadband companies that provide video, phone, and internet content to our customers. The question is, in 2010, what content do we provide? And maybe more pointedly, what content can we provide? And on what rates, terms, conditions, and requirements?
Matt Polka of the American Cable Association contrasted small telcos with small cable operators.
We're also concerned about price discrimination because our members generally are forced to pay much higher prices for the same programming that's carried by the larger operators, and we don't think that's fair to begin with either.
The breakout sessions were also a home run as we caught up from A to Z, an all video world to video copyright issues and pathways to identity theft that were good to know about.
One area that generated a lot of interest from the audience was the whole topic of fair use.
Not always wrong to use copyrighted information. Sometimes you can use that, but it has to be under the fair use doctrine. It has to meet certain criteria. Newsworthiness is one of those criteria. Incidental use is part of that criteria as well.
And here's the thing I think is really going to impact the market, the 10-hour battery life.
One of the things that struck me were the things that will really make them different are some of the more mundane features like battery life.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about the iPad and its web browsing capabilities, and that's all something that you can do with other devices today. What I think it's really potentially could be a game changer for is this extended battery life, 10 hours of playability. All of a sudden I'm using the 3G wireless network, and before I might have to shut down and recharge for a while. But now with this device, I could potentially be online for hours and hours and hours. And
so Donovan has us preparing for an all-video world. Donovan Prostrollo talked about that at MTA today, and you said you had 4 major points that you stressed in this presentation.
Yeah, there's really 4 big things that move our industry, and it really starts first and foremost with the consumer and how they're utilizing services. Ultimately defines how they use our networks. It used to be about the network and how we built the service infrastructure. That's changed.
I remember a couple of years ago he mentioned to me that he would be all fiber to the home, and I talked to him this morning, and he is. It's been, I guess, since last March. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we constructed over about a 10-year period to complete our construction and completed Federated's construction in 2008. With all the construction, of course, then you have to actually convert everyone over and do some wiring in some homes, and we completed that last March, so it's been about a year.
One of the things you pointed out was maybe there's got to be a demarcation between the outside and the inside part of the home.
I think so. The network service provider definitely needs that demarc. The network has to terminate someplace, and then it becomes a network that may be a shared network. There may be pieces of it the service provider may provide. For instance, they could do a deal with the utility company for smart meter and home management, and for so many dollars a month provide them accessibility.
Identity theft and malware. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how those two are interrelated?
Okay, well, the relationship between malware is It is the critical path where all of the identity is being stolen, or it's a path by which identities are being stolen. Malware finds itself resident on your machine. It can do things like logging every keystroke so that when you sit down to do online banking, make purchases through Amazon or purchases through eBay or whatever, all that information is collected, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're sound asleep, your computer's still on, that information is sent to a filtering point somewhere, all that information is collected.
And after the home runs, there were awards presented by Randy Young to Friends of the Industry.
This year we have 4 awards, and I would ask our 4 legislators to come up at this time. Thanks so much for all that you've done for the industry.
And the final keynote speaker on smart grids was a great follow-on to Randy Young's earlier conversations on smart grids powering broadband.
Looking at what is one of the hottest issues today in the electric industry, and that's what's called the smart grid. That's going to require much more communications, much more broadband, much more IP capabilities than they presently have right now.
The smart grid is really made up of 3 parts. There's the in-home and in-grid devices, electronics basically, smart devices that monitor and analyze and report and take action. At the other end, at the electric utility, are the software solutions and platforms that they use to operate the grid. Well, in the middle, all of those things have to talk to each other. The platforms have to talk to the devices, the utility devices have to talk to the meter has to talk to stuff inside the house. That's all telecommunications. And that's all going to be IP. And it's all going to be broadband, two-way. And
so this has been ViodiTV at MTA, highlights from the convention. Watch the full interviews on our playlist for the convention, and we look forward to seeing you next year.